Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Not Boring podcast. I am your host, Sky, and I'm joined here with my co host, Akarsh. And we also have our two other members, Sid and Cargo. Okay, then. So our main theme today is going to be AIs. So, what we're deciding to do to actually structure our podcast is to actually ask some critical questions about our topics and see if we can actually come up with any kind of suitable answers. Well, at least if, or some kind of conclusion to what we can think of about these topics. So, we're going to be discussing the capabilities of AIs, pop culture references about AIs, such as in movies, the compatibility between the human mind and the AI mind, as in their interactions, how they would be able to communicate with each other effectively. So the first question, what are the capabilities of AIs and how powerful will AIs become of in the future? So we actually have an AI specialist over here. Well, at least in our opinions. Karthik. So would you like to come up to the stage?
Okay, first, I'd like to say I'm not an AI specialist. I'm just interested in that field, so I'd like to pursue that in the future. Um,
First of all, let's start off with something easy. What are your experiences with AIs? As in, you have programmed the Alexa and added a few skills to it. What are your experiences?
well, with the Alexa thing, that's the actual device is, yes, it is an AI, but the programming experience, it doesn't really involve much like AI manipulation or any algorithms that are based on the concepts of AI. Um, the basic programming, like it's fundamental. It's like any other kind of general purpose program.
Okay. Um, so let's have another one. In 10 years' time, where do you think AIs will be?
Probably really advanced. They're probably going to be doing half the population's jobs.
Yeah, yesterday I was actually reading this post. Yeah, I'd like to add to that. So in that post, it was basically saying that we're on the brink of this massive exponential growth. So until now, human progress over time has been pretty linear, but exponential towards like the past, I don't know, 50 years. Um, but like in the next even 10 years, because the scale is exponential, human progress will be much more like it will be so much more advanced. And yeah, I think it will be like there will be a lot more progress in the next 10 years than there has been in the in the past 50 years, at least based on this exponential growth.
Yeah, for some reason, it seems like the Fibonacci sequence all over again. As in, the amount of knowledge that we have right now, if you, I think, double it, is it double it? And yeah, I think yeah, when you double it and then add it to the same number you have. It's so that's literally how our knowledge database and also how capable the human race is becoming is acting like. It's like the Fibonacci sequence all over again.
So yeah, with I'll just add to that. I'm sure you probably understood the reference, but like uh, in the example he was mentioning how if you took a guy from I don't know uh, like 1,000 BC and put him in 1500, seeing like all the things that he's observing from the 1500 year, he probably won't die from the amount of development that's happened, right? He'd probably just be
They'll
like,
probably die from the diseases.
yeah, well, that's a different thing, but yeah, like he wouldn't be super astonished by how much human progress has taken place. But then if you take the same, like if you take a guy from the 1500 year and put him into 1750, he'd be a bit more surprised. He'd be like, "Whoa, there are more stuff." They're like, there will, there. It's almost like the Industrial Revolution. And then if you just continue this trend, it's like from 1750. If you put a guy into 2015, you're like talking to a person on the other side of the planet, and that kind of thing just makes their mind blow. It's like this kind of rate of progress, and now with AI will be pretty big.
Yeah. Back onto the topic of AIs. You did say something about how everyone is well, not everyone, but half the jobs are going to be taken up by AIs. What do you think is going to happen in the labor market?
Well, it's not going to go great, is it?
Yeah.
So I was just thinking, like, in like a
Ah.
few years' time down the line, around 15 years, maybe each person has like a pet robot, like an
A
AI,
pet.
and
Do you-
that does every single job for you.
Oh, it'll become that like that movie, that one Disney movie. What's it called?
101 Dominations.
No. It's the
Astro Boy.
Wall-E, where everybody's like fat and they don't have to do
Wall-E?
anything
Oh yeah, yeah.
because everything's done for them.
Isn't that? Yeah. I personally, I don't think that will happen. I feel like AI will be something that will, it will be another thing that will like enhance human capabilities, but not exactly replace them. That's my personal opinion.
Yes, because as long as when we are the ones who are programming these these AIs, I don't think there is going to be anyone mad enough to allow them to become something we don't want them to become.
Yeah,
As in, for example, in references into pop culture, have said that the Terminators, if you have seen the Terminator series, they have um, they've shown these machines that have been made by a great AI, which is connected to like a super network of a defense system, which is connected to nuclear warheads and etc. It shows that basically some kind of AI has gone haywire. But if you really think about the people who would program this AI, why would they give the notion for a AI to actually look out for itself? As in, yes, there would be a case of self-preservation, but there should be no overriding of the program where it would overrule the um, the priority to protect humans, because there would be the highest priority to protect humans in its database. So it wouldn't try and not to attack humans, at least as long as the programmers are sane.
No, but if you think about it, Yeshwan, like, what if the AI starts to think the biggest threat to humans is humans, and then it starts killing the humans? Because to be fair, we are the
that's a
biggest
good
threat
point.
to ourselves.
Yes,
Yeah, that's a very good
that
point.
would be more like Thanos. Then he would try and kill
What?
half of the humans.
Uh,
Sorry,
have you even
sorry.
seen the
What I mean
movie?
is that's the movie. Wait, but that is what Thanos does. He kills half of human. Well, not just human, but all life to try and stop themselves from destroying themselves because of famine or any kind of like shortages, and not just resource shortages, but also war. Because when you have too little people and like a very small population, outside threats are much stronger, and so you wouldn't need these imagined realities of, businesses or economies to keep people together. All they need is just that outside threat to give people a reason to work together and survive. And so there would be, much less corruption rates, and humanity wouldn't just destroy itself from these wars. They would be too worried about outside threats.
I still think AI is going to be the end of humanity.
Yeah. Well, Sid, what's your opinion?
Well, I was gonna start a new top, like not a new topic, part of the same topic, but I was gonna suggest something different, something new. So it is like, how are they actually gonna charge AI? Like, you have to have some sort of electrical input. Half of that is gonna literally take up like it's probably gonna take up a lot of electricity. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Well, like, there'll probably be a lot more renewable energy.
They probably
thingy.
Yeah.
would, but even though you take it, it'll still be a bit limited. Like the amount of energy you get
Yeah,
from
there
fossil
will be
fuels,
a limit
the
to
amount
every
of energy
single
you get from
amount of
fossil
resource
fuels would
taken.
be significantly higher. That's what I'm thinking. Than solar or wind or what do you call it? Hydrotherm. I don't know what it's called.
That's
Hydrothermal.
Hy-
geothermal.
hydroelectricity.
Yes, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
just
Yeah.
hydrothermal is completely different. That's the thermals, or like that's the thermodynamics of water. That's what hydrothermal means. I don't think you want to be talking about the thermodynamics of water.
No, I don't. But what I'm meaning to say is, how are they going to charge it for every single
Yeah.
household? Save every single household has it. That's going to take up. That thing's going to alone take up all the electricity.
Sid, but AI is already in your phone. Like your phone already uses AI, and it's not like, well, if you imagine the rate of like progress, then it's not going to be that complicated for humans to create a very like a very powerful AI that can fit in your phone, which you can charge and carry around.
Because nowadays with sorry, I just thought we have to also account for the fact that there's research being done on nuclear fusion, not just fission, but fusion.
Right. So what? Oh, okay. You're trying to say that like you'll generate so much energy with fusion.
Yeshwan, I've just got another point to Sid's point. He said that, well, you need to have some sort of charge, and Akarsh pointed out that by then there will be renewable resources, and I do believe that as well, because if we look at the rate at which AI is progressing, then surely we can come up with a way that will get us lots of renewable energy to power that AI. It's like a part of the whole process anyway, so it will not be a problem. Like
Okay.
charge and electricity and power for AI, in my opinion, won't be a problem in the future.
Right.
Okay, so now for the computer science of things. Okay, so the processing power, where are we going to get that from? I mean, I have been seeing these, well, not seeing, but hearing of these developments into quantum computers. Sure, would they be strong enough for AIs to use?
Quantum computing, well, it's a thing that's kind of like, I don't know whether it's going to be a bubble or not. And in the future, I don't know whether it will receive enough investment to actually fully develop into a usable scenario. But an example is a 53 qubit Google quantum computer, which is called the Google Sycamore. And the problem with quantum computers is that they are only specialized at particular mathematical calculations at the moment. So it will take something like, I don't know, at least 10 years for a quantum computer to develop to solve a problem that's related to, I don't know, maybe AI, because they need to develop particular algorithms for that purpose. So each purpose has an algorithm, and at the moment they're developing algorithms for like 3D modeling and like gene design and that kind of things. However, I don't think they've yeah, I don't think they've looked at AI. So they will definitely be powerful enough, but I don't know whether they will be completed within the time frame that we have, because they take a long time to develop.
Okay, so okay, so if you have an equation for a curve,
Yeah.
so, so an equation of a curve will describe a curve which has a consistency throughout it, as in a consistency to a certain degree, which is exactly what you would find on trajectories of any kind of object, which for now wouldn't be under any kind of aerodynamic forces. So, for example, in orbit right now, an orbit around this planet, or maybe not orbit, sorry, a suborbital trajectory. A suborbital trajectory can be defined by a quadratic equation.
Okay.
So, if a trajectory can be defined by equations, and using calculus, you should be able to calculate all kinds of trajectories. And not only that, but you should also be able to use some kind of mathematics to be able to um, almost calculate the gravitational pulls of certain planets. Or this is, by the way, just a virtual world for any kind of spacefaring civilization where you can use for planning. It can be, of course, applied to any other uses. But so mathematics basically describe our world in a much more versatile way, which can be used in multiple, once again, just multiple ways. It can be used. like calculating trajectories, and so you can exactly tell where your craft is going to end up after you finish this retro burn, for example. So, if that's what mathematics can do, and quantum computers can handle such a large amounts of mathematical calculations, would it be possible for an AI to use a quantum computer and simulate virtual worlds that span light years across and use it for any kind of data analysis? For example, well, data analysis in terms of would it be possible for a spacecraft to travel from one star system to another, let's just say, using certain fuel resources that are available? So would an AI would be able to use quantum computers for any kind of use like that? That is my question.
Okay, I completely understand your question. Well explained, but I'm not getting what is quantum computing exactly? Karti, I think you'll be able to explain that.
Uh, yeah, so quantum computing is one kind of medium of computing. It's completely different to classical computing. It uses the properties of quantum physics. So, like with classical computers, they have transistors in them. Transistors are basically responsible for all of the operations that happen in a computer because they're like the fundamental building blocks of a computer. So the more transistors you have, the more operations your computer can perform. That's the general trend. And we're hitting these limits where the size of a transistor is too small, um, and according to a law called the Moore's law, we're almost at that limit, and I think by 2025 we'll hit that limit, and we'll basically not be able to add any more transistors within a given area because of the physical limits, because of the laws of physics. So we've hit the limits of transistors. What does that mean? Well, quantum mechanics comes into this because if you go smaller than a certain amount, a property of quantum mechanics plays into this, which is called quantum tunneling, where even if you have a transistor on or off, if you go less than a particular size, then it doesn't matter whether it's on or off. The electron will just jump the gap. So essentially, what it means is that um, quantum mechanics will make the transistors always on or in an always on state, so they can never be off. So we can essentially not use transistors because of the physical limitations and because of quantum mechanics. So what scientists have done is that they've created a computer based on the principles of quantum mechanics to support all of these quantum mechanical properties, and they've been able to create these weird looking fridge shaped computers. And yeah, with them they work in a completely different
I
manner.
think another like interesting property of quantum computers is the qubits, which is like
Yes,
how the data
yeah,
is stored. Because in traditional computers, it's a bit is either one or zero, and in a quantum computer, the qubits, I believe it's like an electron or whatever spinning up and down, and they can be something in
yes,
between, so it's not known.
yeah,
And
yeah, that's exactly right.
Wait. You're saying a quantum computer can store a superposition data type?
Yes, that is exactly right. And that is the power of quantum computers because in a traditional computer, you can only have, let's say you have a 4-bit number. So you had 1000. That's a 4-bit number. It stores one particular number. Whereas if you had a quantum computer with 4 qubits, it stores 16 numbers at the same time. So it stores all of them simultaneously due to the superposition effects. So
yeah,
that's the power of quantum computing because it can store everything simultaneously. So you can imagine this with your intuition that if you had, I don't know, like 64 bits and 64 qubits, that 64-bit can only represent one number, whereas 64 qubits can represent 2 to the power of 64 numbers simultaneously. So 1 versus 2 to the power of 64. That's the difference between computing and quantum computing.
Is it just
That
faster?
is incredible.
What does that even
Sorry,
mean?
Sid?
I can't link to this because This is just too much information to load in. I can't understand this.
I
So
just
what
realized
are the advantages?
if you can hold.
Go on.
Sorry. Okay, so basically with the okay, so you guys know about Kerbal Space Program, right? You do, right?
Yeah.
I guess so.
Yeah, well, I assume that it also works on 3D virtual simulations. At least I assume. And, trajectories are actually shown using these calculations and etc. So if a quantum computer can actually use its, wait, what is it again? Superposition.
Superposition.
Yeah. So if you can use that to its advantage, and as you say, compared to only storing one number, how many numbers can it store again? Sorry,
What, 2 to the
for
power of
one
n?
superposition. 2 to the power of n.
N being the number
Would
of
correct.
qubits.
2 to the power. Oh god. Okay. So you could effectively. Okay, with my computer and its processing power, it can run Kerbal Space Program. So it can sort of like hold like a good amount of a solar system,
Yeah.
and the parts that are used. So if you use a quantum computer, it would just not run Kerbal Space Program. It would run possibly. Oh my god, I don't even know. Oh wait, hold up. I'm gonna estimate the entire Orion arm.
The only problem is quantum computers can't run games at the moment because
I know. It's
yeah.
not running a game, but the thing is, simulation is
Yes.
mainly
Yeah.
based on mathematics.
Yeah, you can simulate
So
something very massive.
Yeah, so we don't need a UI or anything. All we need is the mathematics to be done. And since we're on the topic of AIs, an AI can use the mathematics that are being done by a quantum computer to do something as limitless as simulating an entire Orion arm and planning out any kind of interstellar spaceflight.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, if that's what you're imagining.
I actually have three
This is
questions
incredible.
on this thing. Three
Yeah.
like very. I need to know these things. So, what is the actual function of the quantum computer? Like,
It
why?
basically just does like equations and stuff.
Right. So, is it just like a computer, like as in a laptop you're using, but it's just much more advanced?
It's a different
I mean,
class.
They
It's a
work
different
differently,
class.
It's not
but
a
they can be
computer.
used for the same purposes.
It's called a quantum computer, but it's very different from a traditional computer.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they call it computer because it computes things. So it calculates stuff for you, but
Yeah, you can call them both computers, but there are different classes of computers.
Okay. So, as in like,
Yeah.
uh,
So you can quite frankly call this a quantum class computer.
so what are the? Yeah, yeah. I understand like what it does now. So, like, what are the benefits of using it compared to like, I still can't visualize the difference between a normal computer and a quantum computer.
Basically, quantum computer go fast.
Yeah, pretty much.
It goes zoom.
Okay, so wait. Okay, so Einstein's general theory of relativity.
Yes, yeah.
So I assume this is something to do with the transistors, right? Yeah. So with Einstein's theory of general relativity, so there would be a certain like a few laws that would restrict any kind of like a travel and just placements between. Okay, how do I say this? Because this. Okay, something moves, it gets harder to move as it goes faster. Okay, so that's pretty much the basic, like if you dumb it down really much, like a lot.
yeah.
So it gets harder to accelerate once you reach a certain like speed. Well, actually no, it keeps on increasing no matter what speed you're at, but it doesn't matter. When you're going into quantum levels, however, as in like quantum, basically you're going to the size of an electron. I think Cargo has just told us that quantum tunneling exists, and the general theory of relativity doesn't entirely work. Well, I think there's an exception at least. That's what I assume. Am I correct, Cargo, or is there something wrong?
Yeah, you're correct. Sid, to simplify this.
Yeah, I need a simplification. That's too advanced for me.
Just imagine it like this, all right? A transistor is a switch, and when it's on, it electrons flow through it.
Yeah.
When it's off, imagine a wall cutting it down and electrons being blocked. Okay?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now we're hitting the limits where the wall is so small that quantum mechanics starts to play in this. There are quantum effects that take place. And an electron, what it would do in this scenario where the wall is too small, is that it would literally just cross across the wall, regardless of the wall being there. So it would just jump the gap.
Can you not just make the wall thicker?
No, but making it thick doesn't allow us to make the transistor smaller and therefore fit in more transistors in a computer.
Here, I'll give you a 30-second summary. Quantum
Yeah.
computer goes zoom.
And then a classical computer goes zoom.
Right. That's all I need. Okay, move on.
Yeah.
Moving on. Wait, one more question. So, sorry to bother, but how does this all quantum computing relate to AI? In what shape? Like, how does it relate?
About yeah, basically I just started talking about this because of the fact that quantum computers can be used by AIs. You see, the normal programming of AIs can be done by a traditional computer because it's so much more easier. But if we want to do something much more ambitious, instead of having to do all the stuff on the AI inside of traditional computers, we can move it into a quantum computer, get the computing done in a quantum computer, and then transfer it back into a traditional computer for it to be displayed, like for an output to be received.
Right. So whatever AI you're using, it has to always be connected to a quantum computer.
Well, it doesn't have to be. If
Well,
you
then
want to like buff it up,
how is it going to be
basically,
connected? How will it get the data?
okay, it's basically like this, okay? You have your phone, you have GeForce NVIDIA. It's like chucking a Nokia with a GeForce NVIDIA graphics card. That's basically what you're doing. So it's easier to use the Nokia and put an AI into it, but you can't really put an AI into it yet into a GeForce NVIDIA card. But what you can do is chuck the card into a Nokia, and it somehow works. That's basically what you're doing. You're upgrading something until like it's so buff that it can simulate entire clusters of stars, star systems, and stuff like that. At least, because I'm using these star systems examples because I mean it's something that you can actually visualize because it's so fast and it's actually something that's right in front of us still. You just have to look up in the night sky. So I'm using it to easily see. So if you can actually think of the entire Orion arm being simulated, just imagine the amount of power it has that it can possibly think. It could probably have the algorithms built into it that it can think like a normal person.
Yeah.
And that is actually where we're going to go next. We're going to start thinking about the compatibility of a human mind and an AI. This is the next question. Also, another thing, simulating emotions. Now, well, not just simulating emotions, but also the general interaction between a normal human being, which completely works analog. Well, unless you count the electrical signals running through your brain as digital. But so basically, from analog to a completely purebred digital simulation of a mind, let's just say. So an AI would become so powerful that it can use quantum computers to simulate a mind. How would they interact?
Akarsh, would you like to talk about this?
Oh, hold on, let me give a prompt. Let me give a prompt. Okay, Akarsh. Okay, I'm gonna ask you something. Give me what you
That
got. Okay. Okay, so imagine you got a AI who has taken the role of a doctor. Okay, even a mental psychiatrist. Let's just say a psychiatrist. Okay, this is going to be very interesting. So, would an AI be able to not just effectively diagnose, but also treat a person with depression, let's just say?
would it be able to? Yeah, probably. Isn't there already AIs assisting with that kind of stuff, like giving diagnoses?
Mm,
Yeah, I think
okay,
the word assisting is the key word there because they help, but they don't take the full role there because neuroscience has proved that AI cannot like have emotions. So in any scenario you take, wherever you think AI will be helpful, it will never be able to communicate to humans in a way that is emotional, so it can't emotionally attach to someone. So if someone is facing with depression, it cannot act the same way as a human trying to calm that person down. It will just provide information and generally be helpful, but it won't have emotion.
Yeah, and this is where simulations come into play because if a few parameters is given to an AI and it can simulate how a depressed person would feel, well, maybe not actually feel, but just at least behave, then they would be able to like look out for everything that would need to know in a person to actually say, okay, this guy's got depression. And using that, they would also be able to take all the information they need from the patient to actually know what way would be able to treat them effectively. So, for example, let's just say a certain person has these certain behavioral types, and they would have a few preferences. So, using those as parameters, you can put them into, well, maybe not now, but soon you will be able to actually have software that can do that. Put these parameters into a computer. The AI will then run a simulation of everything that is like of the person. They would be running a simulation of the person, and it's almost like um, checking every single outcome, see which one would be the best for the patient and which treatment would be the best.
Yeah, in that regard, it does help.
Because until now, to actually process all those parameters, because the amount of factors that play in a
Yep.
person's mind is too great
Yeah.
for even a traditional computer to take. So
Computer.
with a
Yeah.
quantum computer plus an
It'll be
AI,
very. Yep. Yeah, that's a very good
that also
combination, Yashwan. That's
that's another thing actually. With this simulation technology, well, at least, well, this maybe not technology, but with this theory of using simulations, would it be possible for a relationship between an AI and a human? And also, this is very controversial because the hell would this actually bring about? Would it be real or would it be imagined? As in, would this be perceived as a proper accepted relationship, or would this be something that's just imagined
It's
and
weird.
not actually given proper regard?
It's
for
weird.
sure imagined.
Imagined.
Imagined. How can an
That's
AI be in a relationship with a
that's
human?
not happening in a million years. Like, can we just like bring like some sort of pop culture into AI, like something like songs or movies, something like that.
Ooh, AI writing songs. That might be
Yeah,
interesting.
they can literally
Ooh,
write any
that is.
song they want.
Oh, this is spicy.
Please stop using the adjective spicy.
All right, then this is saucy.
No, no, come on, man.
That
Just
is that is real funny.
use like cool.
Not food
That's
adjectives.
right, man.
Man should go to clown school.
Yeah, I was gonna say, have you guys heard of OpenAI?
No. What's that?
No, really. Well, that's one of Elon Musk's companies, and they do a lot of like funding towards research in AI, and they came out with this tool recently called GPT-3. Don't ask me what it stands for, and it will be able to do things like writing songs on its own. So if you just tell it a context, it will be able to write a song.
If an AI can actually make music, then it needs to know what good music is. So if you can actually pinpoint define what an actual good music is, then there should be some kind of way to describe it. Yeah, it's an interesting topic that we can talk later.
Right. So, AI can create music better than humans.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, if they can, they have like many more different variations. I presume once they're like highly developed, they'll have so many different variations, and they can like create a song which is amazing. They can even make movies. They can direct films much better than humans can.
Oh, I don't know about
Yeah,
the much better
if
part.
what you say is true, if what you say is true, even with the movies part, then there has to be some kind of define or definite way of filming a movie right, there has to be a few criteria for a movie and a song to be considered good, which also it also delves into the depths of psychology and what is perceived as good.
Well, AI is a learning model, so it can learn. It doesn't have to be definitive. So if you give it some context, it will learn based off that context and then improve its knowledge in that area.
Right, Akash, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think AI can like create songs and go into the art more or less?
I mean,
What do you think about
probably.
that?
I think, like, initially the songs probably won't be that good, but they'll probably catch up to like people's standards quite quickly.
Yeah, but no matter how many songs AIs make, we all know the greatest AIs who have ever made songs is going to be Daft Punk.
They're not AI.
I know it's a joke,
Real funny
because
joke. Yes, one.
Yes, when you say a
You
joke, you
got
don't mean to
everybody
say it's a
laughing.
joke at the end of it.
You got everybody laughing. As everybody's been pointing out, AI is like going to be super helpful and stuff, but it's also going to be. It could have negative implications as well. Like, for example, I think Google uses AI to like track your web history and like what you do on your phone, and then they deliver ads to you based on whatever an AI chooses. I feel like it could become a real issue of privacy. Yeah, so yeah, I think that privacy could be a big problem just because AIs could just like they'll just analyze every single part of your life online. You won't be able to escape from Google's grasp.
honestly, once we start colonizing and stuff like that, all this data stuff is just not going to matter. Because once we'll have, like, proper continuous outside threats, for example, an actual inhabitable atmosphere and temperatures, such like that in Mars, we won't be worried about data. We won't have the time to worry about, oh, we need to get more data so we can sell these guys stuff. Now, there's just not enough time.
But data is like one of the biggest things. Like everything is data. In a digital form, everything is contained as
What do you
data.
mean they won't have time? Everything's done by AI anyway. It's not like a person's manually reviewing your like information. AI is just it takes your information and just computes
I
it.
know, but like they wouldn't be focusing on making AI systems that would be, capable of doing this. People would be
Why
more.
would they not?
Actually, fair question. There's always going to be some idiot who wants to do that.
I mean, yeah, there's Google, there's Twitter, there's literally every social media ever.
Actually, no, not just idiots, but actually there's certain conditions like a psychopath. Now, many people would say psychopaths are people who just kill, but no, 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 no. Psychopaths are people who actually just do things for their own benefits. So there will always be people who will, try and take advantage of other people's stuff. So data scandals like this. So yeah, you do actually have a valid point. There will be always someone doing so. Just Murphy's law. There, if something wrong can happen, so it will go wrong at least once.
Any other dangers?
All right, is it dangerous with AIs?
They can
Yeah.
possibly create an apocalypse and go against humans, as we previously mentioned, did we?
I mean, we could just rule that out by having a proper superload, like or like a, like a higher priority subsystem.
Or, I mean, Yashwant, before we were here, you were talking about something like, would, say if we go to a different planet, say if AI colonized a certain planet, would that be deemed as our planet that we went to? Or
Yeah,
you were saying something about
probably.
that.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Go on.
You know what? How about this? We can talk about or space politics in some other episode because that is something completely like it's a completely different topic. Well, no, it's not completely different. It's just something that we can delve into a lot more with a lot more detail. So, I think we could just wrap this episode up as if everyone else is happy with it.
Yeah?
Okay, so throughout this podcast, we have talked about a multitude of different things concerning AIs, including their capabilities, a few pop culture references, and also the compatibilities. Well, more so on the capabilities on the side, We've delved into the knowledge base about quantum computers, how they work, and their specific, well, the possible uses for AIs, including simulation theories that possibly could be used for a multitude of reasons, such as simulations of physical objects or entities, or simulations of people in terms of their behavior. So, yeah, in terms of what we've actually answered, so pop culture, the actual main problem people have find with AIs is either privacy scandals or, well, data scandals, sorry, or with the saying of AIs are going to bring apocalypses. But while there's not much we can do about data scandals, the possibility of apocalypses happening can be ruled out safely. Maybe not in terms of 100% it can be ruled out because, once again, you can't exactly have a 0% chance of something which can happen in the future. But, the entropy and whatever, that's something else, sorry. But anyway, we've also looked at the compatibility in terms of the actual the simulation of emotions by an AI, which can also use quantum computers. With the simulation of the emotions of a human person, it can be done, but it cannot be properly replicated, as Cargo has pointed out, from that neuroscientists have deemed it, well, proved it impossible. So there is that. So yeah, we have delved into quite a large topic, and rather a little bit of controversy at the end though about the relationship, but that is definitely ruled out. So that is fine. So I hope you've learned quite a lot from this podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it as well. And if you have any other suggestions for other podcasts that we can do, um, please do put it in the comments in the YouTube video. We should put this on YouTube. See you guys later then. We'll call this podcast a day. Hope you've enjoyed. Leave suggestions, as I've said. And
Thank you for listening.
yeah, keep listening for our other podcasts. This is Sky, Karthik, Akarsh, and Sid. See you later.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.